Hey heroes, welcome back to the extended edition. Sir Matt and Sir Ez here, and we are going to talk about the Whitecloaks. Kind of want to do a recap of books 1 and 2. We are about to jump into the Dragon Reborn prologue, where we will go to the Fortress of Light, and it's all about the Whitecloaks. So I kind of thought, Sir Matt, we should go back over some of these rascals in the first 2 books.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big one, right, is Dane Bornhold, right? He's kind of the guy we meet.
Right, exactly. So he's definitely someone we come across early on. If you remember, in Berlon, he is one of the soldiers there who is one of the children of the light who comes across Matt and Rand in the streets there. And there's a little bit of a kind of a showdown. So yeah, he's an officer of the children of the light. His precise rank, they say, is unknown at this point in time. He's referred to as a lord. I believe when they see him in Berlon, and this is coming from the wiki, by the way, just as a refresher, he wears 1 golden knot of his rank on his cloak. So we know that he has 1 knot there, and he wears 2 knots when he meets Egwene at Tar Valon, which is in book 2. Okay. And that's about as far as we'll go there. So Dane's father is Jeffrem Bornhold, who at Falma, remember at Falma you had the Whitecloaks who were there rushing against the Shanchen. The ground erupts in front of them. Lightning strikes from the sky. And Jeffrem Bornhold and the other Whitecloaks are destroyed. They die, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, that's at the end of the Great Hunt. We just finished that. Crazy. So that's Jeffrem. His son is Dane, and Dane is the one who we've been following, through the Eye of the World. I mean, he's the one that Perrin and those guys will come across. So yeah, let me just look at his activities here. So Dane and some of the Children of the Light are in Berlon when they are the butt of one of Matt's pranks. He goes to question Matt and Rand. The City Watch, they show up just in the nick of time, and they intervene. Dane and his men decide to withdraw because they don't want to fight the City Watch. So this is early on in the Eye of the World. Dane later catches up with Rand and his group as they are trying to leave Berlon, and he tries to arrest them. But Moiraine, right, uses the Mask of Mirrors and confuses them. She grows super tall. She looks terrifying, and the Whitecloaks give way, right? Dane is under the control of Aemon Valda. So this is one of those like Lord Captains. And just so you understand, in the Whitecloaks, I believe, so in what we're going to be coming up to here in the Dragon Reborn, well, I guess I won't say his name just yet in case you haven't read that, but we're going to come across the leader of the Whitecloaks. So we'll get there, and that's the Lord Captain Commander. So you have Lord Captain, then you have Lord Captain Commander, if you will. So Dane is under the command of Aemon Valda, who is also one of the he's a Lord Captain. Here we go. Okay, and I got to stop right there, and that's pretty much it for right now. That's sort of what we know about Dane Bornhold, and then Jeffrem, as I said, is the guy who is he's a Lord Captain, and his forces are lost. Now, the guy who he's talking to, Child Bayar, right? Child Bayar is he's basically told by Dane's father to watch the events, to report what happens, to take no part in the battle. He said to tell, and actually that is mentioned. He tells him to go to the Lord Captain Commander and tell him what happens, and he says, tell my son, what happened here. If that essentially he kind of knew he was going to die. I mean, he could see that this was just, he was going to fight for the light, and this was it. So that was Child Bayar. So it's a little bit, I just want to kind of clear those names and those characters up, because we're going to start learning about a whole nother group of people. It's like as you learn about the Aes Sedai at the White Tower, you start to get all these different names of Aes Sedai and their Aja, their allegiances, who they're loyal to. Well, very quickly, you start to get into the dynamics of the Whitecloaks, the Children of the Light. And we get that, like, as I said, coming up here in the Fortress of Light. I almost said the Fortress of Solitude.
The Fortress of Light. So the Whitecloaks, where are they? So I have their wiki kind of pulled up here, and I'm not going too far down, so I don't spoil stuff for me.
Yeah.
Where are they based out of? Because it seems like so just some history, right? They're founded in, they give a year here. They're founded during the War of the 100 Years, right? So this is, I think, quite some time before the series, right? So they've been around for a while.
Yeah. Yes, they have.
Yeah, and it says here, like, their power and prestige was initially limited, but over the succeeding 1,000 years, as the influence of the Aes Sedai began to ebb due to their declining numbers and failure to present the War of the 100 Years and many other conquests, the Whitecloaks end up becoming more powerful and popular. Then it seems like they reach an accord with the king of Amadisia, who let them establish a permanent base of operations, right? The Fortress of Light in the capital city of Amador. And so that's kind of what ends up happening. It says, however, the power of the children with Amadisia rapidly outstripped that of the king. So these guys, they're now a huge political, kind of powerful military force that's kind of just dedicated to rooting out not just dark friends, but also just anything evil, I think. So it seems to me, just from what I've read so far, is that they're almost too eager, right? Like thinking Batman, the Ra's al Ghul, right? And they're like, well, in order to save Gotham we need to root out its evil and like destroy the city, right? Kind of a thing. And that's what they kind of feel like to me.
Yes, 100%. If you pull up, here's a really good reference for people with maps, by the way, for any fantasy, for several fantasy series, is the Atlas of Ice and Fire blog. Maybe I can put a link to this.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is Atlas of Ice and Fire, but he does other stuff too.
Yes. So I was going to say he does the Wheel of Time series, and he has Westeros, so he has Game of Thrones as well, Song of Ice and Fire, but he does a lot of Wheel of Time things. He was actually on the Jordan Con panel. I think it's Adam Whitehead, I think is his name. And he does some really cool maps. So I have that one pulled up here just for reference. But as you say, in Amadisia, the nation there, just to the south of the Mountains of Mist is Amador. And that's sort of where you have, the Children of the Light are there. Now, it's good. I think this is probably good to pull up a map and see what is happening. In the northeast, you've got sort of seats of power. You've got Tarvalin is pretty far away from them, and they have major influence in that region. Between Amadisia and Tarvalin is the nation of Andor. Right in the middle of all of this, in the thick of it, you've got Caemlyn. But the region that we're dealing with at the end of the Great Hunt is the far western region of we're on Almouth Plain, and actually what we learn is that Jeffrem Bornhold and others are in that region trying to. It's basically an unclaimed region. It's between Aradoman and Taraban. And those are the two, in this coming prologue, we're going to hear a lot about those two nations and the fighting, and some of that fighting takes place on Almouth Plain. Well, it's really the goal of the Whitecloaks to spread their influence and their control and things like that. So Almouth Plain was an important region for them to kind of take and patrol and stuff. It just so happens that the Shanchen were invading on Toman Head and moving east, which directly would run them right into Almouth Plain. Like there was, whatever you want to call that, I mean, that's coincidence, fate, whatever. That is essentially what was happening. The Whitecloaks didn't necessarily go there because they were going to root out these dark friends. The Shanchen kind of show up there, and it's almost in secret a little bit. I mean, like they're taking over quickly, and the Whitecloaks are close by, and so it's like, well, here we go,
Right. So, I'm just like, when you pull up a map here, Toman Head is as far west as you can go in Randland, is what we call it, right? Is that the correct?
Yeah, that works.
The kind of the correct term, I think, what most people. The map, just a map of the Westlands, right? I guess is what you call it. And so Toman Head, and then immediately it's kind of like a peninsula that kind of goes out, and then the only place you can go, is, as you said, directly right into Almouth Plain.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's again, Jeffrey Bornhold is sent there to kind of with his forces to control that, and you do realize actually, it's one of the things we kind of at the end of the Great Hunt we might have missed a little bit, which is that there is some fighting between there's some infighting among the Whitecloaks between the Questioners, you know, and the children themselves. So there's different little factions inside of their group that are vying for control and influence. But yeah, I think that is pretty much sort of the recap. I mean, the other big connection is they have a strong connection to Perrin, because Perrin, when he's with Elias early on, he does slay a couple Whitecloaks. It's like it's his kill,
yeah.
right? I mean, he makes it that, and so he is there, and he's with, I believe, it's Dane Bornhold and others, and yeah, they're the group that kind of, you know, they tell him, hey, you're a dead man, essentially, because you killed one of ours. You know, you killed some of us, therefore immediately you are Dark Frame. The problem with the Whitecloaks is that it's all or nothing. You know, it's either you're with us or you're against us. And if you're against us in any way, shape, or form, you are a Dark Friend, and we will name you.
They're it's almost like they're zealots, right?
Yes.
Chaotic good is what you call them, kind of on that spectrum.
Right. And so it is hard when you come across them, you're sort of like, is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? What's their whole deal? What you learn about Jeffrey Bornhold in that the whole into the Great Hunt is that he is he's someone who warns against people being overzealous, right? He doesn't want them to be super. It's one thing to be vigilant and looking for dark friends and stuff like that. It's another thing to be accusing every single person of being a dark friend. And so he actually comes across a character. I always say his name wrong. Jacob Carradine, who is a questioner. And they have sort of a disagreement at the end of the Great Hunt about where to go and what to do with their forces. And we'll get to it in a second. But in the prologue, that is discussed as to what was the disagreement, why are they disagreeing, who was right, and people are going to have to, people will be questioned. So
yeah,
I guess is best way to kind of leave that. So does it make a little bit more sense? As you said, Sir Matt, in Amadisia, there is a king, right? But they have such influence there that it's almost like they overrule the king in some regard. And they're hoping to do that in Aradaman and maybe Terabon, like by going to these other kingdoms.
How do they get funded? How do they make money?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think they're backed in Amadisia by the king. Okay. But that's a great question. I don't actually know. So if somebody knows, let us know. Leave a comment down below. Maybe it's. I wonder if they have their own. Yeah, like taxes or something. They definitely seem to like they would need to have a backing by someone. But by. I'm guessing. So I know in Amadisia, I think it could be the king there, but.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're looking to spread their influence and their power, and that's that, I guess. Yeah, that's sort of the update. That's the recap. Just a quick one for extended edition, and then we're gonna dive into the prologue of the Dragon Reborn and kind of go from there. So with that, thanks for listening. Yeah, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.